Hello, knitters, and welcome to episode 202 of the I Rock Knits podcast. If you're new here, my name is Cori Eichelberger, and I'm a full-time knitwear designer and teacher, and I love color, all the color. I redid my shelves, I took the Dumplin bags down, and now I've got some rainbow colors. It goes up a little higher. This is just my single skein stash, so no worries if you're feeling like this might be the only yarn I have in my house. The yarn is everywhere. Welcome. I do have a Patreon community and no pressure, but if you'd like to join me over there, I would love to have you. $2, $4, and $10 a month will get you monthly meetings for knit night, monthly meetings for book club, and $10 members get all of my patterns for free. Last year there was a pattern every single month, and a couple of months there was more than one. So yeah, some people have made that option, and it supports me while I'm trying to be creative, but I don't have a new pattern coming out, or my teaching really slows down. So I try to give you something back for the monetary support that you give me to make my income more consistent. I would like to announce this week's winner. The Patreon giveaway winner for this week is Audrey Hackle. So Audrey, you are getting a great prize. I've got this wonderful bag here. It's beautifully large. Isn't that nice? Oh, it's so pretty. I do love a good gold. I have a stitch tape measure, as well as a little sheep, so you can just felt yourself your own little sheep. So Audrey, get in touch with me and let me know your address. Patreon members are the only ones eligible for my giveaway prizes. And I think so far we're getting close to almost everyone having earned a prize. So by the end, everyone will have won something. I have a lot to talk to you about today. I just got off teaching this morning. I was at Knit and Bolt in Minneapolis, so I have on my Gudrun Schoten dress and my AttaGirl sweater. But look at these fun buttons. Aren't they cute? Oh, I just think they're so fun. It's a little girl with kind of braids, and she's kind of screaming into the void, which I think is perfect. For my sweater, I did use Leading Men Fiber Arts DK weight held double, and it gives it that marled effect. But I have a new pattern coming out this fall, which will be this sweater in a lighter gauge in a pullover. And I'm super excited about it. It's turning out so cute. It's just gonna be a pullover with these yarn over knit two together lace pattern stockinette sleeves, but I'm using fingering held double, and the testers are already working their way through that pattern, but I also have yarn coming from a local person who is going to support me in doing a collaboration for this pattern. So I will be knitting it up in the colorways that she sends me. So I'm super excited about that as well. Also, if you're new here, I have affiliate links for all kinds of new things. So if you would like to buy a Strucket and support me, or buy the YU Trim Fit or any of their other products and support me, or go over and get some of the new wool underwear that I talked about, all the links will be down below in the box, and all you have to do is click it if you want to take a look at the products, or it just supports me by giving me $1 or $2 back on each of those products. My twice sheared sheep Cori's drop stop stitch markers are also part of my affiliate links that I can get, and I have all those links also on Instagram and on my website. So if you're looking for the links at any time and you can't find them, that's where they're at. They're on my website, they're in my Instagram bio. So I've got a link tree over there, and they're always going to be down in the show notes. And then I just won't talk about them all that much more. You've just got me this week. I don't have a guest, but I am interviewing someone on Tuesday. So next podcast we'll have a guest. Someone that I've known in the industry for a little while, and so I'll be doing her interview on Tuesday. But as of today, I had a podcast interview myself with Fiber Chats, Irina of Fiber Chats, and that just went up today. So if you'll go over and support her by watching that, she called it The Joy of Knitting with Cori, and I was just like tickled that she would say that she found it joyful. What a generous soul. She spent so much time with me after our interview talking about the industry and knitting in the industry and getting yarn support and things like that. So just a lovely, lovely woman. And if you haven't been watching Fiber Chats for all these years, you need to go over. I think she said she's interviewed like 350 people in the industry, which is just amazing. I probably should interview her back, but I do think that you'll find that interesting. The things that she had to ask me, just very thoughtful questions. And you know me, I'm kind of a talker, so I rambled on and on. So we'll see what she had to do with the editing. I have the Patreon knit night and the book club announcements for the summer. So my next knit night is Thursday, May 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. and that's a change. I was invited to go to a volunteer dinner, and that's an appreciation dinner that I did not know about, and that was on Wednesday. And so I had to switch our knit night until Thursday. So I hope that that didn't really mess anybody up. But if you're a Patreon member and you haven't seen my post in the Patreon group, just know that I had to switch it until Thursday this week. I should go over and post that also on Instagram. So I will, I'll make myself a note right now so that I do that, because I don't want anybody showing up on Wednesday night on Zoom. Anyway, sometimes that happens, right? Just a quick announcement here for Patreons that I will not be having book club this month or this summer, as I'll be busy traveling for about 40 days. And then I want to give a quick shout out to Denise. Denise was on book club last month, but she hadn't read the book, but she hadn't been able to get on. And she said, you know what, I just decided to come over and chat with you ladies. And we were such a small group. It was just Janet and I. And she has knit 3 of the Dumplin bags already. And I think that's the most that I know of that anybody has knit if they haven't test knit for me. I have some people who have test knit a whole bunch of them, because once they knit one, they just come back for more. But Denise lives down in Texas, and she's got 3 Dumplin bags done. And she said by the time that she's done, she'll probably knit them all. So just go, Denise, shout out to her. And then one of the things that I wanted to share is that the new Farm and Fiber Knits magazine is out. And if you're not getting this, it's a little pricey, but man, is it worth it. The articles are incredible. The patterns are great. And you know what it's talking about? Vests. Vests are in. And I'm so excited to hear that, because I have a new vest pattern I'm designing with Farmer's Daughter Fibers for Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle in August. So I have just started knitting it. The pattern is completely written. It is a vest pattern, but I still want to give 8 weeks for my testers. So I have to have it done by the end of this month so that my testers can finish it by the end of July. So if you're interested in a DK weight, classic, not Cori eccentric, they chose, I sent them 6 design options, and they chose one that they felt, best represented them. So it's a really fun vest pattern. And so if you'd like to test that for me, I always need the small and the biggest sizes. It's really hard to get people on either end. So if you have a small bust, or have someone small that you can knit for, or a large bust circumference, and this, yes, definitely would also be applicable for a man to wear. So just let me know if you'd be interested in testing that, because I'm going to send out the testing call probably in the next week or so. I have to get it tech edited. The pattern's been written for about a week, but I wanted to get the first part of it knit. I am using yarn from Farmer's Daughter Fibers, but you do not have to. You can use any DK weight yarn that you might have, and in any color that you like. Okay. Well, let's talk about the legend in the room, right? This is my Rail Trail sweater that I cast on in January 2nd of 2019. And it just got finished. 7 years in the making. There was no problem with the pattern, but I did not like the way I was doing the increases in the color week. I just thought that they were so sloppy. I wasn't choosing the right color. I was trying to do it in brown, but when I came around in the raglan, sometimes the brown stitches would, oh, what would you say? They would border either side of it, so it would look like it was wider and then thinner and then thinner and then wider. And I got, oh, way down to here, I have pictures in my Ravelry page, and I just didn't like the way it looked, and I didn't know if I could live with it. I kept thinking, of course you can live with it. It's, you know, raglan, it's in the seam kind of area, the fold area of your, well, I finally decided that no, that just wasn't going to work for me. I needed to fix it and make it better. And I talked about duplicate stitching over it, or sewing some stitches over it just to make that line nice, and or putting a piece of like ribbon over it. Anyway, I sent it to my sample knitter who does some sample knitting for me. And I said, Jane, how can we fix this? And she said, let me give it a go and see. And she said, yeah, I agree that they don't look great. And so finally I got this sweater finished. I mean, come on. And of course, it's way too warm to wear it. It's all over color work. It's by Kristen TenDyke, and I use Jill Draper Makes Stuff. It was a kit that came out. Very few people have knit it because I think the all over color work just really scares some people away. I'm just sitting here staring at it. I'm not even looking at the camera because, yeah, it's so pretty. I cannot wait to wear it. So I will put it on tomorrow maybe and do an outfit of the day with it, even though I probably can't wear it out of the house because it's 85 degrees here. But in the air conditioning, I can put it on for all of you. You can see how it fits. Yeah, we're planting flowers today and getting some things done this afternoon. My husband is currently fixing the back door to our garage. We put a glass storm door outside of our door to our garage so that when he's out there working in the garage, he can open that door and get a lot of extra light in. We did put a window in the back of our garage as well. And the door banged open last week in the wind 2 weeks ago and just ripped the door practically right off of its hinges, the storm door. It bent the gutter, that downspout gutter, and broke the frame. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. So my brother-in-law and my husband spent a Saturday morning fixing the storm door. And guess what happened this week? The wind took the door again. And I didn't do it. That's all I wanted to say to my husband. I said, did you let Chevy out this morning out the back door? And he's like, yeah. And I said, did it get closed tight? And he said, yeah. And he's pretty meticulous. And I said, well, when I came home this afternoon to let him out, the door had bashed open again and it was hanging. And he said, did it break the frame? I said, no, I don't think it broke the frame, but it definitely bashed the downspout, bent the downspout, and the shock absorber thing is also bent. So this morning he went to somewhere, Home Depot, I assume, and he bought ultra super sonic, oh, I don't know, something, new shock absorber tension thing and extra heavy duty chain to keep it from being able to do that again. And so he's out there doing that right now while I record, but I think he's gotten over the fact that it happened a second time. We've got to get it fixed. It's a beautiful big glass door. Thank goodness the door didn't break. The frame broke to the wood frame of the door, but not the actual door. But yeah, he wasn't very happy when I told him that had happened. I just felt bad. Then I was at Shepherd's Harvest. So let's do a little Cori stories. Every year for Shepherd's Harvest, which is the Minnesota Sheep and Wool Festival, kind of, smaller version of maybe Rhinebeck or Wisconsin, much smaller than Wisconsin Sheep and Wool and those kinds of things. But I went with Matt and Bonnie and Mary Yazvik and Janet, people who've all been on my podcast, but I had invited Crystal of Factory Girl Designs from Winona and Tiffany to come over on Friday because we always knit together on Friday, and then on Saturday we go over to the festival. So we go out to dinner on Friday night, and then on Saturday we go over to the festival, and we go out Saturday night. Well, it was bitter cold and so windy. Not like Minnesota winter cold, but Minnesota spring cold. Like it was, I don't know, 50 degrees maybe, and the wind was just merciless when you get outside. Then the sun would peek out from behind the clouds and you could warm up, but about 3 o'clock we called it quits. We were like, we're going to darn it anyway to knit, because it's probably 10 minutes down the road, and we thought, we don't want to sit outside anymore. We don't want to be in the barns. If you were in the middle of the barns, it wasn't too bad, but if you were on the ends, the wind was just blowing. And so I had a chicken gyro, which I get every year. There's a whole, there's a food truck row, probably 6 or so food trucks. There's, you know, last year I remember we bought fudge and we bought the popcorn. But this year I got the chicken gyro, which they're so good. These women have these flat tops, and they're making the vegetables fresh, and oh my gosh, they're so good. And then later on that afternoon we had cinnamon ice cream with mini apple pie. Oh, what a day. And then we went out to dinner that night as well. So it was really fun. People came on Friday and knit, and then we went to a place down the road here where we went out by the lake and ate. And then so there's some pictures out on Instagram, but it was really fun. And I didn't want to buy a lot of yarn. I've said this before, but now that I'm designing more and I'm getting yarn support, I'm not using up my stash at all. And I have some beautiful stash that I'd really like to use. So I don't want to collect more stash right now. Not that I can't, but I prefer not to. But I did buy 2 skeins of yarn from Teresa at Get Ben's Farm, which was my plan, because I have hand spun from my friend Matt. He always gives us hand spun for our birthdays or Christmas. It's such a true gift. And I wanted to get some coordinating colors that looked like hand spun that I could maybe stripe with, or actually even knit a yoked colorwork sweater. So this is the skein that I had in my mind from Matt. It's kind of a DK to worsted weight, and I wanted to get something really bright to go with it. So I picked this one and this one, right? And so then I was thinking I could stripe it and then also use this hand spun in the yoke. Yeah, so I think I did okay. Like, I didn't have this with me, and I knew it had blues and purples and oranges. And so I bought what she, you know, had in the same weight. So this is natural fiber from Teresa, and it's dyed by Sarah at Muse. Sarah dyes her yarn. Rambouillet and Angora Rabbit, and it's 250 yards. So it does have Angora in it, which makes it really soft and lovely. It's called It's a Hair, Silly. There, I should get that right. Definitely. So those are the only 2 things I bought, and they were purposeful to go with that idea. I don't have a plan quite yet for a design, but I'm thinking that I will come up with one. And then my ladies over at Knit and Gather, I bought this orange case. It's so cute. It's so cute. They were on the podcast, Kate and Lila, and they do a lot of tchotchkes, knitting accessories. They have buttons and pins and stickers, and they have some leather goods and some wood things that they make, stitch gauge rulers and things like that. But they had this, and it just spoke to me. So I had put my yarn in here to carry it home. But I definitely will use this for packing, I think. It's like a packing cube. And it's got a this in it. And they had it in lots of different colors. So yeah, those are the 3 things I bought at Shepherd's Harvest. I have also been working on my even dune. I've gotten a little bit further. I split for the sleeves, and so now this will be a great travel project because it's just round and round. It's a top-down raglan. I put the collar on, and I couldn't decide. It says to use color 2, but I think I might have liked it better if I used color 1, the darker pink, but at this point it matches right here. And so I decided to just go with it. So yeah, here's my color repeat. It's got these colors that I copied from Michelle of Woolens and Nosh. I'm using the Green Letter Day yarn, which is lovely. And if you haven't seen her website, and if you don't follow her on Instagram, well, I almost should say don't, because you'll just want it. Her palettes are incredible. I've never seen a yarn dyer do a palette like she does, where it's just all the pinks, all the reds, all the greens, and then she has pre-orders and kits, and it's just incredible the amount of color that she'll have in a palette, right? She'll like have all of this up at one time. Yeah, it's really incredible. Green Letter Day. But I'm working on that, but I did want to send my thoughts out to Michelle of Woolens and Nosh. Her partner has been diagnosed with something that I don't know what it is, and it's none of my business, but it's not good. And so they could use some prayers over there. They do have a child, and that's always hard. And she has put out a public announcement that she was going to have to step back a little bit because she's going to be a primary caregiver for a while. So I just wanted to put that out there for any of you who know Michelle or have followed her for a while and might not have seen that announcement, but who are also the kind of people who lift people up when they're down. So let's do that for Michelle. Okay, I'm also headed to Rhinebeck, and I'm hoping to have a collaboration. I have reached out to a yarn company because this year they're doing that Sweaters for Good campaign where you're supposed to use local farm yarns. And so I have reached out to a company to do a design for Rhinebeck, but I haven't heard back yet. But I am going to be at Indie Untangled in a special capacity. And I don't know if that's a secret either. They haven't announced anything about it yet, but they are doing something different this year at Indie Untangled with some designers. So I am super excited about that. That will happen on Friday. So I am going with Matt and Bonnie and Mary, and we all bought tickets to Woolen Affair, and then we bought tickets to they bought tickets to Indie Untangled because I'll already be there. And then we bought tickets to Cake Wool, so or Cake Palooza as it was called, but now it's under cakewool.com, I think. So yeah, anyway, lots of places. Going to Seattle. I'll be at Dallas Fort Worth teaching the last weekend in August, first weekend of September. And then I will have a design coming out for Yarn Over, so that will keep me busy in September. And then I'm hoping to do my retreat again in November, maybe even late October, up at the Nome Schoolhouse in North Dakota. So if you're looking for something that you want to join in on, yeah, there's lots of things to go to, lots of places to be. Save your pennies. The beautiful part for me is that I can count it as a business expense, and for some of these things I get paid. Thank heaven, or otherwise I wouldn't afford to go because too many activities. Yeah, so last night I taught for Longmont Yarn Shop, and I taught my tips and tricks that'll blow your mind, and I'm teaching again for them in 2 weeks. And so if you're interested in basic shawl shapes and wanting to know how you could design your own shawl or figure out how shawls are constructed in different formats, we're going to be knitting 5 different shawl shapes in the 2-hour time period, and we just make little ones. And that's kind of a fun class to just get to sit and knit. I really like teaching for them. They've been very organized. They pay you well. They get good customer repetition. People take classes over and over again. So every Friday they have Fiber Fridays, and then they also have that Fiber Side chats where they have more big name people talk on Sundays. So yeah, go over to Longmont Yarn Shop and subscribe to their newsletter, because they're doing a lot in the knitting community, especially for people who don't have local yarn stores, to do classes online. So that was online last night, and then I taught this morning in person, which I prefer, but it's also nice to stay home sometimes and just teach from and not have to travel. And lastly on my needles is another Dumplin bag. I'm supposed to be done, not supposed to have any more, but I wanted to do a hand spun one. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do the farm yarn shawl with Teresa of Get Ben's Farms Yarns. This is the patterning, slip stitch, and then this star stitch or flower stitch. And then I'll go back to the slip stitch patterning. I had her cream yarn, and then I had this blue and red that were also dyed by Sarah. And I decided I'm just going to knit one more. And so I think this will come out later, and maybe for Rhinebeck. But Teresa does a lot of events and a lot of traveling. And she's also always here at Mill City, our farmers market, downtown Minneapolis, on Saturdays. And so I just thought it would be fun for her to have a Dumplin bag in her booth, just a way to support her. And so I got this going the other day. I've been knitting this at my knitting group, because it's easy for me to knit a Dumplin bag because I've done 13 of them. And so I don't need to be working on design at my knitting group. I can just take this just to knitting. So that's another thing that I actually have on the needles. I have been watching a few things, not a lot that I would highly recommend, but if you haven't seen Remarkably Bright Creatures on Netflix yet, and it just came out, but I called my parents the other night just to see what they're doing. And they're like, we can't talk. We have a half an hour left of this show on Netflix. And so I asked them what it was, and they were like, oh, and I said, oh, I read that book. I said, I haven't watched it yet. I said, it just came out. And they said, yes. And it's so good. Sally Fields and, oh, what's his name? Pullman. It's Bill Pullman's son. Oh, it is so good. It is the story about the octopus who has a voice. You hear his voice in the book, like doesn't actually speak, but you hear what he's thinking in the tank. Marcellus, the octopus, and Sally Fields is the cleaning lady at night at the aquarium. And it's just lovely. It's feel good. It's a movie. It's like an hour and 50 minutes. Go over tonight and just watch it. You'll just enjoy it so much. And then I watched Trust Me, The False Prophet. That's about the girls in Utah in the polygamous family, and he was being a terrible, despicable person with young girls, the daughters of some of the wives, and the lady that went undercover into the organization to try to. And it went to court and everything. It's hard to watch. I haven't finished because you just think, how can this be going on? But they really are brainwashed, and you have to remember that it's almost like a cult. Very sad and hard to watch. I started watching Friends and Neighbors, but I haven't gotten back to it. It's a little weird. It's a little hard. It's the man in a wealthy suburban neighborhood who falls on hard times and starts stealing from his neighbors. Yeah, I've watched a few episodes of that. And then also, I started a new podcast, new vlog on YouTube called Craggin' Around. And it's a young couple who bought this piece of property in Florida after living on the road for a while, and they're trying to fix things up. But this guy is a bit of a fool. Like, he's a young guy, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And I watch a lot of those, I watch Paige and what's his name? Colton? I don't know what his name is. I can't remember. And they're clueless, but they kind of like check things out on YouTube and try to figure out what they're doing. And I watch the Van Wives, and I have watched the Scout lady. Oh, she had her baby. Thank goodness. That went way past what it should. If you haven't watched Scout Outdoors, that's the couple in Newfoundland. So I watch a lot of those kinds of shows where they're creating their own area, and they're, living off the land or trying to make their own way in the world. But this guy, Craig, he just makes a lot of mistakes. So and he laughs at himself. So it kind of makes you laugh too. So you might want to go check out Craggin' Around. Say, I found something out on the internet. If you are a person who loves to read, there is a website called thelittlefreebookshop.com, and they will mail you 2 books each week for free. And I just find that amazing. Free books to anyone who wants to read, and they will take your books as well. And so they ship out free of charge 2 books every week. And some of them are not in great shape, like they're hard used, and some of them are like brand new, right? But if you want books and you can't afford books, they want to make sure that people can have books in their hands. And I just thought that was fascinating, and I'm going to share it at my book club that I run just to let people know. So littlefreebookshop.com, and the link will be down below. You could go check that out. And then my test knitter, Helen, who has tested almost everything I've designed in the last couple of years. She's amazing. She lives in New Zealand. And she had a brilliant idea, a suggestion that she wanted to share with anyone. And she said, to the testing group, would you be willing to consider jumping onto Ravelry and rating Cori's patterns that you have purchased and knit? It would help to raise her profile as a designer, and some of you have knitted some absolutely lovely things. So if you have knit for a pattern of mine, would you go on to Ravelry and rate the pattern? You can star it down on the right-hand corner. You can star the yarn, and you can make a comment. You can favorite it. All those things help me to raise my profile and be better seen. And she sent that out to everyone. It just touched my heart, right? Because I was just like, how nice is that? They all finished testing for me, and then she said, now go over and rate the pattern and say, you know, that you tested or whatever, but rate the pattern. I thought, oh, I should ask everybody to do that. So if you want to take a minute, that would be lovely. Now I have moved all of my audiobook reviews over to my new channel, so go over there and subscribe. Cori's Stories, Audiobooks, and Chat. I'm on episode 3 just posted, and I'm going on to episode 4 next. I talk about 4 books each week, and I just separate them out for people that don't want to listen to all the knitting content. So if you are looking for the audiobooks and you want to know what I've been reading and my thoughts on that, you can go over to my second channel and still find it under Cori Stories. And because there were other things named Cori Stories, I had to add Cori Stories audiobooks and chat to make it easier for you to find it. But it comes up right away. So, hey, I am teaching at Rose Yarn Co. here in 2 weeks. I'm teaching 2 classes, how to use Ravelry and fixing mistakes. So if you have been looking for those classes locally here in the Twin Cities area, that shop is in Lakeville. I'll be teaching for the first time in her new classroom area because she moved and has a huge space. And if you have not been in it, you really should want to go over. And then on June 13th, I'm teaching for Amazing Threads. That's in Maple Grove. That's the opposite. Maple Grove is the opposite corner from Lakeville. So the northwest corner, I'll be teaching tips and tricks and Latvian braids. So my Choose Your Own Path cowl and hat class. So that should be fun. And then I don't teach again until DFW right now because summer usually gets a little slow. I think that that's about all I have today, except we just have to bask in the glory of my Rail Trail sweater. It's so fun. Anyway, I will see you all in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. I hope your knitting treats you well, and keep it colorful.